Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for the 19th meeting of the Lake County Board of Commissioners. Would all those who are willing and able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority. And may we use it in our directives for the common good and for thy honor and glory. Amen. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Serino.
Here.
Commissioner Young. Here. Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here. Okay, we have our EMA director with us today. Joe, is there something you'd care to update us on?
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the current status of the EMA and the situation the county is dealing with this COVID crisis. When I last presented some 7 weeks ago, we were all quite nervous about where we were with PPE. I reassured Lake County, yourselves, and all those that were listening that I felt we were in a good spot. We talked about who we had to provide for, and that being the Tier 1 agencies, that being the nursing homes, hospitals, first responders, which included FD, PD, and of course EMS. And then got expanded as time went on to make sure that jails and long-term care facilities were included in that. Well, the conservation efforts that we put in place through the county work, the supplies that we had in preparation from the pandemic of H1N1 and Ebola, that equipment got us through, and now the supply chains are catching up. We've been regularly receiving strategic national stockpile deliveries here at the EMA. Now they're coming in sometimes twice a week. Those supplies have been fulfilled basically all the needs and future needs should there be a second wave of this. I feel we're in a very, very good spot. As I presented in the past, Lake County had the forethought to put stuff in place to handle many situations. And one of those, having the plans that they had in place, got us through the first phase of this. The most difficult PPE, and that being personal protective equipment that has been nationally and globally, has been protective gowns. We still have enough should a nursing home have an outbreak within our county. We've been keeping those, or if FD or PD had some situation, we kept that stock in. It looks like the national stockpile, the first delivery to the Ohio EMA was very brittle and it wasn't worth distributing. I think they were sent back. We've been informed that it looks like gowns are going to be in next week's delivery. Next week's delivery are on different days. We're scheduled for 2 deliveries next week. I want to do a little bragging about my staff here. They've been awesome. They've been receiving, distributing, and documenting. We talked early on in our first meetings about the documentation that's needed because, as you know, with federal, they're going to want to know what we received, what we distributed, and who we distributed to. Well, we created a report at the request of the Lake County Health District last week, submitted it. They were ecstatic with that, and that has been forwarded down to the state of Ohio, I believe, to the Ohio Department of Health. I want to brag about the unified command system that's worked here in the county. We have regular meetings with police, fire, and officials weekly, and that includes mayors, managers, and trustees from every community. The discussions we have are very proactive. Those discussions should make the county citizens feel that that things are in place to protect them. And not, if you look back, we've had floods, we've had earthquake. We are preparing for a graded exercise. We here in this county, we have the nuclear power plant that we have to protect. We reached out through FEMA, who is now reaching out to the NRC. We're trying to have the virtual exercise, and we're having our meeting on the 28th, and we're trying to determine if they're going to support that type exercise. Others have just canceled their exercises. We figured, you got to prepare for, and if an event should occur here, we have to be prepared for everything. That's what we do. That's our job here at the EMA. And we thought outside the box and tried to put something in place. Going back to the COVID, the response efforts still continue, but I believe we're working into the recovery phase of this incident. We're working with, this EMA staff here is working with the finance director and his staff, and we're starting to put the request for public assistance paperwork together so we can submit that to get some cost recovery back here to the county. That's pretty much my update, and I'll be happy to take any questions from you.
Joe, if I could take a few things in order. In the beginning, I must confess, it was impressive, the way that your team organized donations, and with conservation, we didn't know what we were going to be dealing with, and the response rate was amazing. The effort, the folks that were tasked with reaching out and asking for donations, and other organizations that just flat out donated of their own free will and accord. It was pretty impressive, and that's a testament to the quality of the individuals under your command and the businesses and individuals in Lake County that responded to those needs. So I give you high praise for that. And continue on that high praise, you've also continued to keep Lake County in the forefront. We are one of the counties, not only in the state of Ohio, but nationally, that is definitely in the forefront of adopting and establishing best practices. I commend you and your team for that. You continue a very high standard, and that's something that the people of Lake County can take comfort in. So you are very much one of the reasons why Lake County is looked at as a guide here. And with that, gentlemen, any thoughts?
Yes, Mr. President, I would echo Commissioner Hamercheck's praise, Joe, for you and the organization, and really all the organizations in Lake County that dealt with this kind of unexpected situation, to say the least. One of the things that I would, and I'm not asking for an answer now because it obviously is going to take some time, but one of the things when a circumstance like this comes around, Joe, it's always good to sit back after it's kind of over and think about what would we do differently if this were to happen again. And while I think you guys did a great job here, particularly since this is new ground. Now that we have this behind us, obviously the planning for in anticipation of another event of maybe a similar nature could happen in our future, and I think we'd like to see at some point later this year sort of an autopsy of how everything went. What would we do differently? How do we plan better for this so that if it does happen again, and hopefully it won't, the execution can be even better and more flawless than it really already was this time around. So again, not asking you what you would do differently now, but I think it would be good to have a discussion with all the parties involved here when we think this is largely behind us, to see how we would, where we fell a little bit short, and what things we can do to proactively be ready for next time.
Hey, Joe, this is John. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we've talked about doing a hot wash on this after action report. Those things are already in the pipeline. That's comes shortly after the recovery phase. I believe you're working on that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, to answer your question, I started reviewing hot wash documents. They've been sent to the Lake County Health District. We're not prepared to handle one, but we, right now, because we're still in, as I said, somewhat of a response mode, but we'd be negligent if we didn't all get together, review what was done, best practices for the future events and things that we need to improve upon, because if you don't learn from every event that you have, and put those practices into the new plan through your after action report, you probably you would be negligent. I guess that's the best word. So all those things that were just mentioned by the commissioners, they will be put into place. We're probably going to have a larger facility than we usually do for that event. And when and if we can put everybody into a room, I actually believe this should be in like an auditorium type setting once a vaccine has been in place. And people are face-to-face is needed for that, in my opinion. And that will be up to the unified command system that we have to determine what best practice at that time.
And it's also, I think, fair to share many of the practices that were put into play were actually being worked on and developed prior to this event. So although some people might say you made it look easy, there was an awful lot of work that went into it. I remember seeing you with your bag here, if I remember correctly. It was your version of the football. So there was a lot of work that went into this. Jason, you have something you'd like to add, sir?
Yeah, just briefly, Commissioner, thank you. I think it's important to note that the commissioners and Deputy and Director Busher, we had a meeting, I believe it was at the end of February, Joe and commissioners, as news of this issue began to gain traction. We had an all-county meeting at the EMA, elected officials, department heads, to talk about the what if. So, the commissioners and should be recognized for that even pre-planning effort prior to the first case ever hitting Lake County, at least being announced. We had a couple sets of meetings with all county leadership to exchange ideas on digital communications, emergency contacts, work from home. So we had already had those processes underway. So I would be remiss if we didn't talk about what we did prior to Commissioner Hammercheck's point about being ready at the appropriate time. So thank you.
And Jason, to that point, I'm even going to go back farther. Even before this COVID-19 was even a topic of discussion, we were looking at facilities, emergency operations center, capacities, a great deal of planning, and what does the future look like. So there was an awful lot, again, to the quality of the people and the training and their what-if scenarios. Much of that effort came to bear during this COVID-19 situation. So I just want to get that out there, because that is something unique to our area, that we actually were better prepared, which is why our response was so effective, dare I say. Commissioner Young, did you have anything you wanted to add, sir?
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm proud also of the response from our emergency departments, the health departments, etc. I think an autopsy, if you will, is critically necessary. At the same time, I think an autopsy is critically necessary. And I think what we'll find is that while our health groups, our emergency preparedness groups, all did their job and did it admirably, I think what might have been lacking, and I probably shouldn't say this in advance of the autopsy, if you will, but to diagnose the problem from my perspective, I think there may have been a lack of leadership from the top. By that I mean elected officials probably at all levels. I think that in many cases we left those folks to work with unclear directives, vague pronouncements, etc. So while I believe the folks on the ground did an admirable job, worked hard, and saved a lot of lives, at the same time, I think we could have done better as a society than we did for a number of reasons. I won't go into that just now, but yeah, I think if we need to take a close look of ways we might have improved, I would say that it might be in the directives from on high and the specific quality of those directives. So thank you, Mr. President.
I feel compelled to ask, when you say on high, you mean our level or above? I'm just looking for some clarity. 'Cause
Mr.
I'm
President,
sure.
I would say on every level, but especially from the state level.
Okay, just want to be clear, because, yeah. Okay, thank you, sir. Joe, anything else you wanted to add?
Nope, I thank you again. And appreciate the time. And if you ever need me, reach out. I'll be there to answer any questions you need.
Oh, bless you,
Joe.
sir. Please convey our appreciation to your crew as well, sir.
I will do that.
Have
Thank
a good
you.
day. Thank you, sir.
If it's okay, I'm going to sign off. I got a couple things I got to follow up on.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Back
Have
to
a
your
great
assigned
day,
duties. Oh, bless you. Good day, sir. Madam Clerk, I believe we can proceed with our resolutions.
Okay. In the Utilities Department, resolution approving plans, specifications, and estimates of cost in the amount of $733,089.75 for Southridge Road Waterline Replacement Project 425W and advertising for bids for same, bid opening June 17th, 2020.
Move to adopt?
Second.
And discussion. We have our Utilities Director here, Randy Roethlisberger. Sir?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner. This is a waterline project as part of our capital improvement plan for 2020. It's been part of a plan since early last year, and we're just moving forward with advertising for bids that'll open next month, and the project will be completed this summer, hopefully. It's about 2,000 feet of waterline on Southridge Road in Perry Township between Narrows Road and Maple Street.
And just a little bit of background, this is something that's been on the books for a while. We're continuing forward with infrastructure projects. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the design criteria is you're looking at about a 75-year service life on projects like this. Just a little bit of by way of background.
Yeah, on average, we're hoping for 75 years as a useful life for these projects. We are continuing our capital improvement plan for next year. We're meeting with consultants via teleconferencing right now to set up our projects for design for this year and construction for 2021. So we feel it's very important to continue our preventative maintenance and make sure that the water and the wastewater continue to be able to provide the services that they have been.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Serino?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Resolution approving plans, specifications, and estimates of cost in the amount of $488,045 for Phase 4, Part A, Lake County Solid Waste Facility, South Access Road Project 421L, and advertising for bids for same, bid opening June 17th, 2020.
Move to adopt.
Second?
And discussion. Once again, Randy.
Sure. Thank you. This is the first phase of our next landfill expansion. This is a relocation of our access road that allows access to the open working face of the landfill where the garbage trucks dispose of the garbage. So we are locating it now from the west side of the landfill to the south side of the landfill, and it'll allow us to continue to expand the landfill to provide disposal services for the county, ultimately for another about 27 years once all these phases are done over the next couple of years.
And by way of background, will there be a new set of scales? What type of infrastructure?
As part of this phase, all it is a road going up this side of the landfill. So it's actually constructing a road that can carry these size trucks on top of an existing landfill. So it's quite an extensive project. And we're able to, as part of our latest permit to install, we're able to increase the slope on the side of the landfill. So by building this new road on the side of landfill that's already been increased in slope, we're able to create more space where the existing road is now. Ultimately, it's going to, this project, when it's complete over the next 2 or 3 years, will be new cell walls between the two existing cells that we have right now. And that's where we'll be disposing of the garbage for the next 25, 27 years.
And if I remember from discussions, this will also provide more ready access to the facility for emergency services if there's an event of any kind. I seem to remember that was one of the discussions.
Ultimately, yes. It's not part of this phase, but ultimately the improvements to the landfill that we're going to be making over the next 2 or 3 years will provide some access for emergency vehicles. Yep.
Very good. Further discussion?
No, sir.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Resolution approving plans, specifications, and estimates of cost in the amount of $1,282,250 for Aquarius raw water generator and electrical equipment replacement project number 398W and advertising for bids for same. Bid opening June 24th, 2020.
Move to adopt.
I'll second that. And discussion, once again, Randy.
Sure. A few years ago, we did an audit of our electrical systems at our Aquarius water treatment plant. We broke that from that study. We broke up about 4 projects over the next 4 or 5 years. This is the first of those projects where we're going to do improvements at our raw water pump station, which is up off of Lakeshore Boulevard in Willoughby. It's pretty significant. This is going to be a new electrical connection, a new diesel generator, automatic transfer switch, and then also a temporary generator during construction. That will be required to make sure that we're still able to get water from Lake Erie to our water plant.
And the service life of this project should add 25, 30 years based on this equipment?
Right, yeah, about 25 years. The plant was originally built in 1985, so yeah, we're at 35 years right now for this equipment, and we're hoping for the same with these improvements.
Very good. Further discussion?
Nope.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of an engineering agreement with AECom Technical Services Incorporated for the Aquarius Water Treatment Plant Switchgear Generator 435W for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And discussion, yet again, Randy.
Right, this is the second project of that electrical evaluation for the plant, and this is going to add an additional generator to our water plant and just general electrical upgrades at the actual plant. The previous resolution was for bidding out at our raw station, and these are improvements that will happen at the Aquarius water treatment plant.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Further discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
In the Commissioner's office, resolution awarding bid contract to Grunwell Cachero Company for the Lake County Courthouse Reserve Parking Lot improvements for the Lake County Board of Commissioners.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Resolution revising the authority of the county administrator to contract on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners within certain limits regarding the CARES Act loans and grants.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And under discussion, Jason, basically this streamlines the operation and allows you to make sure that things are done in a timely way so there's not a lag time between our commissioner meetings, gives you the authority to act on our behalf. Do you want to add anything to that? I'm sorry, sir. Say again, please.
Yeah, that's correct. This will just expedite any future, approvals for assistance with the CARES Act dollars, which, as you know, is coming from our HUD program. So in light of being timely and responsive to the community, this will just allow us to act a little faster internally.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Further discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payments of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $2,981,595.40.
Move to adopt?
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $291,756.37.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations for various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to adopt?
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes. Okay, this brings us to our departmental reports portion of our meeting. I finally said it. Okay, Randy, utilities.
Sure. One more thing, Commissioner, if that's all right. Just like to commend our employees for the effort that they've been giving through this whole period. Continue to providing safe drinking water. Last Friday, if you recall, we had a significant amount of rainfall that our wastewater crews handled without hardly a notice from our customers. Our landfill is, with all the spring cleaning going on, is handling a significant amount of solid waste going in and out of there. So everybody's really stepping it up, and really appreciate the effort that everybody's really giving and going above and beyond what's really required.
Excellent, excellent. Any questions for utilities?
No, sir.
Very good. Randy, thank you. Moving on to our county administrator, Jason.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. Just a couple brief things. We're continuing to evaluate what June 1 looks like as far as access to county facilities. I'll be chatting with you guys hopefully later today to put a plan together for consideration. As you know now, as we have been since March, we are fully staffed. We have opened up the buildings to public via appointment, and that is going extremely well, with access limited to the main entrance of the new county campus, where visitors will be well checked by a sheriff deputy similar to the county courthouse. So we'll get that evaluation, hopefully with some guidance to go out tomorrow. Our BG and telecom department continues to do a great job installing PPE devices and public faces, be it service counters in our courts, our county recorder, our treasurer's office. So continuing to be ready for the day when we have a little bit more public interaction here in our facilities. And finally, just simply regarding the budget, had a brief meeting this morning with Mr. Matus and Mr. DeMar, continuing to look at those numbers, and we'll be sending out future correspondence to our officials and department heads regarding revenue reductions and what the plan is, so we know that they're going to be able to kind of be a team player as we work 2020 and into 2021. So there'll be some additional correspondence going out hopefully today, tomorrow on that front as well. So that concludes my report.
Very good. Questions for our administrator?
Nope.
Very good. Madam Clerk?
Not really.
Not really. Nice.
Let's see, next Thursday, May 28th at 10 o'clock is our next meeting.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. And legal? Thank you, sir. Okay, this brings us to our old business portion of our meeting. Do we have any old business? Sir?
Mr. President, just a recognition to our wonderful staff at the Board of Elections. I know we recognized them previously, but now that all of the provisional ballot counting has been concluded, they're really virtually finished with the election, with the primary election. And they dealt with the team that led by Ross and by Jan Claire, really dealt with a number of difficult situations, time frame constraints, and a number of unknowns in terms of when and how the election was going to be handled. So they did a great job. I want to recognize their leadership and all of the staff at the Lake County Board of Elections. We had, I believe, virtually a flawless election process. We wish turnout was greater, but that's not their fault. And we're fortunate in Lake County to have such a great Board of Election staff. So I just wanted to recognize them.
Indeed, sir.
I'd like to say a little
Sir,
something on
please,
that
sir.
also, Mr. President. Thank you. I'm pretty close to the the Board of Elections. A family member has worked there for 20 years now, just about. And the hours that they put in, it's amazing. I mean, I'm talking, this young lady goes into work on Monday, works throughout the week through Sunday. And I'm talking, when I say work, now I don't know that they're lifting heavy weights there, and it's not labor, I realize that, but nonetheless, they're there 10, 12 hours a day, and they're not making overtime. They're getting comp time. Those folks are dedicated. And just as Commissioner Serino was saying, they do an exceptional job for us. So I have to say I'm very impressed. As again, Commissioner Serino just mentioned, I'm very impressed with the effort they put in and the results that they get. It's that we are noted throughout the state as having a premier Board of Elections. So I also want to thank and commend them for their hard work and very successful work.
Indeed. Well, I'm going to take a little bit of liberty with old business. Today is Sheriff Frank Liam-Bruno's birthday. So if you have the opportunity to see Sheriff Liam-Bruno, or maybe send him an email or a text message, just say happy birthday. I think that would be appropriate and very welcome. Sheriff Liam-Bruno does a fantastic job, and with his leadership, once again, keeping Lake County right out on the forefront.
Mr. President, could we
Sir.
read into the record exactly how old the sheriff is today? Is that possible?
I'm sorry, sir, I don't have that information available. So,
All right, I had to try.
But nice try, nice try. Very good. Now, do we have any other old business? Okay, moving on to new business. Do we have any new business to come before this board? Sir?
I do, Mr. President, just one item. This is Memorial Weekend. And I think it's going to be not only a Memorial Weekend as we traditionally celebrate and remember, but it is also kind of the state's coming out party, if you will. And people have been released from home enslavement and are now free to go out and enjoy. Hopefully the weather will be cooperative. But I do want to make sure that we all duly remember those who have served and those who have given their lives and the families that were involved to keep our country free. And it's a nice time to barbecue and get outside and do all kinds of things, but let's not forget the real meaning of Memorial Day, which is to remember those who gave their lives for our country, and our country is free because of those people. And we need to keep it free and work hard at keeping it free. So, again, just a point of memorializing those who have sacrificed so much, the ultimate sacrifice. I know this last year we buried my dad, who was a World War II Guadalcanal veteran, and there aren't too many World War II vets left. And we certainly want to remember not only those who've given their lives, but those who are still alive, and recognize the service and sacrifice that they gave to keep our country free. Thank you, Mr. President.
Very good, sir. And if I may echo and amplify what you said regarding Memorial Day, I do have a few prepared notes here. Sadly, though, many people take weekend trips, throw parties and barbecues, and that's what they think this holiday is about, because Memorial Day is a long weekend. It does comprise Saturday and Sunday before the Memorial Day itself. And Memorial Day, in many ways, is looked at as the unofficial marking of the beginning of summer. But as Commissioner Serino so adequately pointed out, I'd like to amplify. Memorial Day commemorates the men and women who died while in military service of their country, particularly those who died in battle or as a result of wounds sustained in battle. In other words, the purpose of Memorial Day is to memorialize the veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. We spend time remembering those who lost their lives and could not come home reflecting on their service and why we have the luxury and freedom to enjoy this day. We might consider how we can support and safeguard their grieving families and the loved ones who are left behind. A little bit of history. Originally known as Decoration Day, it originated in the years following the Civil War and became an official federal holiday in 1971. Many Americans observe Memorial Day by visiting cemeteries or memorials or holding family gatherings and participating in parades. On May 5th, 1868, General John A. Logan, leader of an organization for the Northern Civil War veterans, called for a nationwide day of remembrance late in that month. The 30th of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, hamlet, churchyard in the land, he proclaimed. The date of Decoration Day, as Logan called it, was chosen because it wasn't the anniversary of any particular battle. On the first Decoration Day, General James Garfield made a speech at Arlington National Cemetery, and 5,000 participants decorated the graves of 20,000 Union and Confederate soldiers buried there. Memorial Day, as Decoration Day gradually became known, originally honored only those lost while fighting in the Civil War. But during World War I, the United States found itself embroiled in yet another major conflict, and the holiday evolved to commemorate American military personnel who died in all wars, including World War II, the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. For decades, Memorial Day continued to be observed on May 30th, the date Logan had selected as the first Decoration Day. But in 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which established Memorial Day as the last Monday in May in order to create a 3-day weekend for federal employees. The change went into effect in 1971. The same law also declared Memorial Day a federal holiday. Cities and towns across the United States host Memorial Day parades each year, often incorporating military personnel and members of veterans organizations. Americans also observe Memorial Day by visiting cemeteries and memorials. Some people wear a red poppy in remembrance of those fallen in war, a tradition that began in World War I as a poem. I would also like to take a moment to think about those who, as a society, we're very good at replacing lost limbs. But as a society, we're not necessarily so good at replacing that which is lost from one's heart, one's mind. Sadly, many veterans have challenges with family, marriage, drugs, alcohol, and we have a rising suicide rate among our veterans. Perhaps as a society, we should make a concerted effort to replace that which is not so apparent to the eye. It's become commonplace by some and a bit strange to others when you just look at a veteran and say, "Thank you for your service." There's not a one-size-fits-all, but our veterans are in need. And we should make a concerted effort to acknowledge and show due respect for that which they have left behind, and to do what we can to preserve those lives that are still among us, that are at risk. And with that, I thank you. I believe, Commissioner Young, you have something you wish to expand upon about our grant loan program, sir?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was going to say something about Memorial Day as well, but I think I'm going to follow your leadership here. In reference to the grant loan program, I'd like to do just a quick introduction, and then I'm sure you'll have some details to expand on it, so I don't want to eat into your time. But I just, this grant loan program, we got a lot of questions on it when it was discovered that we were taking these CDBG monies, if I got the acronym properly. CD, right?
BG, yes, CDBG.
Yeah, I thought that's what I said. Well, at any rate, doesn't matter. Community Development Block Grant monies.
Bingo.
And we were going to spend those in a way that was a little bit different, and that was on business development and protecting jobs and things of that nature. Usually all the money is spent basically on public services of every sort. And that's a good way to spend your money. Certainly, those are necessary services, taking care of people and organizations that take care of people in need. At the same time, we can never forget, particularly at times like these with the COVID epidemic, what President Truman once said. He said that the business of government is business. We can never forget that. Every good thing we do, other than make pleasant pronouncements, which are often not all that pleasant anyway, but nonetheless, all we do is founded upon the wealth that's created by our free private sector, by the wealth that's created in America's free enterprise system. Everything we do is dependent upon that, whether it's for schools, for the poor, everything we do, infrastructure improvements, even funding churches. At the end of the day, that comes from donations. And those are from the wealth that people generate through their jobs from the private sector. And I would say that's especially true that we spend these monies in this way during this time period. This is a revolutionary piece of American history where government has stepped into the fray and said, in many cases, you will not work. To our public, you will not work. You will not keep building your business. You will stay off the streets except under certain conditions. This is extremely unique, and it's only right that government do what it can to help replace some of that wealth that government has taken away from the people. Now, you can make the argument, and it's a valid argument, that government has to get involved in these kind of situations at some point for some finite period of time. But nonetheless, these are times when government has taken away, and government must do everything that it can to replace. So whether that comes in the form of tax reductions, of defraying various expenses to the public in tax payments, or even direct help to small business. And by the way, small business generates over 90% of Ohio's new job creation. It's time that government steps in and does whatever it can do. And when the courts have to step in, as we see happening now with the COVID epidemic, the courts have already stepped in. We have a suit right here in Lake County, in fact, that demonstrates the fact that I think government had gone just a bit too far and needs to pull back a little bit at this point, and while offering guidance and direction as we're still doing, I think it's wise of the governor and others to begin to mitigate this emergency with a higher degree of common sense. So enough said. That's the sort of the rationale for what we've done. And now I believe President Hamercheck would like to say a few words as well.
Hey, I'll be the detail guy. So I want to say what a pleasure it has been working with Rhea Benton, our Community Development Block Grant Director, Marion Norman, our Home Specialist, David Rodacci, our Planning Commission Director, Jason Boyd in his former life of being head of that department before he became administrator, helping navigate the rules and regulations of HUD and the cautioning to government of don't duplicate services, but not necessarily giving us guidance as to what other programs are available. The selection process and the breakdown of the funding silos for this program. I believe it's $700,000 for the small businesses. I believe it breaks down of 25 or less, including the owner, 5 or less, including the owner. If you want to talk about a micro business, the $122,000 for the social services, and the rationale behind those ratios had to do with not duplicating services. I believe Commissioner Serino has been quite the watchdog there as far as if you've participated in one program, you shouldn't participate in another, and to some degree, credit worthiness. I don't know if you want to expand on that, but a lot of details have gone into this. We're also having a professional organization manage this for us so that we don't find ourselves in a situation of having applicants and then things just sit and stalled. We're working diligently to make sure this doesn't become just, I believe you say, just another government program. This is going to be something unique, and we're working diligently to make sure that the deliverables are going to be there. Right at the moment, though, we're waiting for HUD to actually release the funds to us, so we've gone through the application process. Jason, did you want to add anything or save those details for a later meeting? Does this pretty much give us a pretty high-level overview?
Yeah, Commissioners, well said. A lot of work went into these 2 programs. The press release will go out today. The commissioners will be opening up the portal probably next week for online applications for both the grant program and the small business loan program. Our goal as a staff is to do the review, the fiscal underwriting that traditional finance settings, to get recommendations through our review committee to the commissioners, and hopefully get these resources to the business community as fast as we can. The one outstanding item at this point is getting the award dollars placed into our local fund from HUD, and Rhea Benton is doing a good job keeping in touch with our Columbus HUD field office. And but nonetheless, instead of waiting on the dollars, we want to start the process to be as user friendly as we can. So thank you,
Mr. President.
Sir, thank you, Jason.
Jason, just to expand on what you were saying, I know the portal will not be available till next week, which will be the vehicle by which businesses can apply, right, for the loans or the grants. I've been getting a lot of emails and phone calls asking for details about the program. And now that we're releasing the press release today, will we have something that we can have on the commissioner's website that at least generally describes the program and makes a reference to the portal and when it'll be available and what the portal will be used for? Because I'm sure none of the commissioners are going to do a thorough enough job of explaining all the details here. So it'd be nice to be able to refer people to our site in the interim here until the portal is finished.
Yes, we will. We're going to link right at the top of LakeCountyOhio.gov. So there will be a 2-page white paper, commissioners, that describe both programs, eligibility, award amounts, and so on. We're also going to use Lake County Development Council, who, as you know, is a nonprofit here in the county with a huge database of local businesses, to help share the message. Additionally, I've shared Rhea and I have shared the documents in a draft format with the local communities who know their business communities probably better than I know myself personally. So they will be tell those local businesses, hey, keep you guys out on this particular website. So when we do go, we'll have a full breadth of marketing and hopefully get as many applicants as we can sustain at that $700,000 mark.
Okay, and then just a couple of other quick things. On the creditworthiness side that Commissioner Hamercheck mentioned, again, there's been some of the questions I've gotten from businesses who are interested. Creditworthiness will be an issue, and the committee that is being put together to evaluate applications will be looking at creditworthiness. So I want to emphasize again that if a business has had asset repossessions or bankruptcy filings in the last several years, that's not going to count as creditworthiness. So we don't want to get people's hopes up. This is not a credit rescue operation. This is trying to assist in businesses sustaining themselves and sustaining the employment. And we are also even on the grant side, our review committee is going to be looking at sustainability of the business. So, for example, we're not interested in granting a $5,000 or $10,000 grant to a business that doesn't seem to have the viability past 3 or 4 months from now. So our goal is to try to sustain employment or grow employment if we can, and to help businesses who need a little nudge to get over the edge here with the pandemic situation. But if a business is simply not going to make it, our review group will be taking a look at viability to make sure that we're not throwing money at something that is not going to be around in 2 or 3 months. So that's generally kind of our expectations here. Okay? Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And actually, to Commissioner Serino's point about the details, I think I failed to mention that the employee demographic for these businesses, they need to have a component of low to moderate income employees. So the benefit is to keep these folks working or bring them back to working. So that's also one of the goals of the program. So it's low to moderate income employees. So that's one of the requirements. Commissioner Young.
Yeah, I just want to add that, thank you. I just want to add, though, that there is 2 programs. There's our loan program up to $20,000, and there's no fees and no interest charged. And in fact, none of your payments will be due until 2021. So it's a good program. I would say that the qualifications aren't quite as strict or as detailed as the SBA loans, but as Commissioner Serino mentioned, there are clear stipulations. You have to meet certain qualifications. The grant program, nothing needs to be paid back. $5,000 max, I believe. And both programs do require the moderate income, low moderate income levels, but at the same time, if you check the federal registers as to just what that means in a way of income, I think it's a family of 4. It could make up to the low 60s, and you only need 1 employee, I believe, who would meet that criteria. So a lot of small businesses do meet the criteria. In reference to sustainability, I believe sustainability only requires you hold on to 1 employee in that income bracket. So, these are not, we do want people to apply. So I would say while the qualifications are real and we're certainly not just throwing the people's money away, at the same time, these are attainable. And I can guarantee you that the process itself is not nearly as convoluted and confusing as the SBA program. And we will have folks on hand that can help a bit with the application process as well in many cases. So I want to encourage business owners to apply. I think this is by far the best employment program I've ever been involved in, and I think you'll find it rewarding. in many cases. Thank you, Mr. President.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Okay, do we have any other new business?
No, sir.
Once again, just a reminder that Monday is Memorial Day, so please make an effort, sir.
I'm sorry.
Quite right. No, please.
Jason, would you fill us in on the mentor exclusion, which we couldn't control, in reference to the loan and grant program?
Yeah, a
The
good question.
details of
Young.
that.
Yeah. The city of Mentor is kind of a separate entitlement community as far as community development block grant funds are concerned. Their population hovers right around 50,000 residents, which is the kind of threshold to be your own entitlement community. So the county's CDBG program is all of Lake County with the exception of the city of Mentor, and due to their own funds being received in the village of Waite Hill. But the city of Mentor, been in contact with those folks, have programs available to their local businesses as well. We've shared resources and ideas over the past couple weeks as we put our program together. So yeah, it is a HUD requirement that our program dollars, be it loans or social services or construction, cannot be implemented in the city. Thank you.
And Jason, that was an example of a HUD requirement of not duplicating services or having overlap, so it was prohibited since
Correct.
Mentor has their own program.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, if there's nothing else to come before this board, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, Jason, you have something to add?
We just do have one public comment for the record.
Oh, sir.
May I enter it?
Yes, please.
From Mr. David Lima. Record has further consideration given to delaying property tax collection in order to help taxpayers who may be affected financially by the coronavirus. Thank you.
Would you like me to?
Commissioner Serino, if you'd care to comment?
Yes. That question has came, I think, before us last week in the public comment section here. And let me answer it in this way. First of all, the Lake County Commissioners have no authority whatsoever relative to the collection of property taxes or the assessment of property taxes. And so we certainly can have opinions, but we have no statutory authority. That rests with the county treasurer and the county auditor. And I do know that there have been some discussions relative to recognizing hardship cases, which currently the Board of Revision already does in terms of the opportunities to waive penalties and late fees. There is no provision for waiving the taxes themselves. The principal has to be paid, or at least over time. So there is some discussion about that. There would be likely, if there was such a program, I envision that it would very likely involve some proof of hardship, but nothing more onerous than applying for unemployment, certainly in terms of proving that there is a hardship in fact. So we will leave that in the hands of the auditor and the treasurer. And again, the commissioner's office has no statutory authority on this, but we have indicated some of our thoughts and opinions to the auditor and the treasurer, and we will leave it in their hands. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. And you do serve as the Board of Commissioners representative on the Board of Revision.
I am on the Board of Revision, yes. As a commissioner, we have one designated, which happens to be me this year. And so we do look at, we did it just this week for 4 or 5 hours, reviewed requests and had hearings for those who were requesting either changes in valuation or waiving of fees, late fees and so on. None were involving the virus situation right now, but I suspect that we will have some of those in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jason, anything else? Thank you, sir.
That's it.
Okay, it's been regularly moved and seconded that we adjourn. Do we have any discussion on that? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Serino?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you for joining us.